soon to be Dr. Vega joined the PhD program in medical anthropology in 2009. She has distinguished herself in her ethnographic research, which is really fascinating work on the alternative birth movement in Mexico. She's written and published incisively on the politics of reproduction, indigeneity, and class. From a point of view that is deeply ethnographic, she's worked very closely with indigenous midwives as well as middle-class women and people trying to kind of reclaim what they imagine to be a sort of natural alternative birth practices. Her work is also very closely attuned with the scholarship and thinking coming on these issues coming from Mexico. She's a deeply international scholar in this way. Her work has been duly recognized with research and writing grants from, among others, the Ford Foundation and UC Mexis. Rosalind has also excelled in teaching, and I really salute her for this. In spring 2016, this semester, she received Berkeley's Outstanding Graduate Student Instructor Award. In fact, she's taught graduate level work at Mexico's leading public university, UNAM. As if this weren't all enough, somewhere in the middle of all of this, while she was finishing her PhD, she completed a master's in public health, also at Berkeley. So a double congratulations to you, Rosalind. Her speech today is entitled Appropriate to Appropriate. Or Appropriate to Appropriate. She'll tell us which one it is. Please welcome Rosalind Vega to the podium.
An honor to be here to speak to you. 11 years ago, I accepted a spot in Brown University's medical school. Inspired by the idea of becoming a pediatric surgeon and saving the lives of infants and children, I spent my non-classroom hours scrubbing in on as many different surgeries as possible. Then, in the fall of 2006, something fortuitous happened. I enrolled in an introductory medical anthropology course, Culture and Health. My first endeavor into anthropological approaches to medicine changed the way I experienced the operating room. What was formerly a decontextualized enclosure of sterility and a theater of scientific healing became a contested space where identities are challenged and forged, and where the physiological consequences of biopsychosocial dis-ease are treated with steel blades and suture needles. Hoping to understand how differences in race, class, and gender structure how people engage with medicine, and curious about how biological, psychological, and social maladies intersect in the body, I decided to leave medicine to pursue a doctoral degree in medical anthropology, but not before a concerned family member suggested that I be hit over the head with a 2x4. My transition into graduate studies in anthropology was not without challenges. Coming from a medically oriented background, I was disoriented. But as my research unfolded, the value of education in anthropology became clear. For me, anthropology is not just an academic discipline, but a state of being. It is about pretending one knows nothing long enough to allow what one observes to structure the questions one asks. Decentering the frames of reference one has inherited as obvious tools for untangling a mystery. Recognizing that the answers to social problems can be found in society, not at one's desk or in one's computer. Acknowledging the organic intellectualism of individuals lacking advanced degrees or any formal education. Being aware of how one's own perspectives are partial and situated within one's privileged life experiences, and essentially engaging multiple perspectives. My doctoral research dealt, past tense, with the commodification of culture. Observing the many ways cultural medical practices are marketed and consumed, the lingering question is, when is it appropriate to appropriate? That is, when affluent couples from the global north travel to Puerto Vallarta for a destination birth that combines traditional rituals and swimming with the dolphins, the high costs associated with ethnomedical tourism render these birth packages inaccessible to the indigenous women whose practices they have usurped and repackaged. Examples abound of how culture is appropriated without benefiting and at times harming those from whom culture is seized. Less than 15 miles from here, the gentrification of the mission has resulted in the displacement of Chicano families by more affluent home buyers and apartment hunters who are attracted to neighborhood murals representing Latin American culture. The global marketplace in racialized and gendered identities is a powerful zone because it shapes and disrupts how we think about social issues circulating today. When a Cal student is removed from a plane after pronouncing inshallah on a plane, when schools, churches, and television studios become sites of violence, and when ongoing debates about immigration and national borders coincide with a female presidential hopeful vying to follow the United States' first multiracial president. As I approached the end of my graduate career, I was heartened by tools I had acquired for thinking about health and intersecting forms of inequality. But I still needed to explore options for how to make use of these tools post-graduation. True to my training, I embarked on an ethnography of where to do ethnography. This personal research project led me to discover the utility of an anthropology degree across diverse employment sectors. User experience in marketing, biotech consulting, biomedical mixed methods research, postdoctoral teaching of introductory courses in the social sciences, etc. While I have decided to accept an assistant professorship that will allow me to mentor underprivileged students while teasing apart the kaleidoscopic factors contributing to extreme healthcare spending along the US-Mexico border, I hope that my circuitous route to the PhD illustrates that while the life path of an anthropologist is not precisely paved, its breadth lends to forging one's own unique journey. If I had to point to one accomplishment of my own, I could say, I did that right. The thing that I did right was I followed some of Nancy's rules in her manual, and I put together a team of people who really inspired me. Mentors who were smarter and wiser than I am, and people who led me to be the scholar that I am today. And so I really want to honor those people, my co-dissertation advisors Charles Briggs and Nancy Shepherd Hughes, and I also want to recognize Ian Whitmarsh, who is also on my committee. And in closing, I would like to take a moment to recognize parents, family members, mentors, and friends that have provided all of those graduating today with love, guidance, and support during our studies in anthropology. So congratulations to everyone.
Rosalind Vega. Supranational citizenship, immobility, and the alternative birth movement in Mexico. Co-chairs are Nancy Shepherd Hughes and Charles Briggs. By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Regents of the University of California, I hereby confer upon you the Joint Doctor of Philosophy in Medical Anthropology.